It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222, your emails at randykabc@gmail.com, and search for the News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. It is 24 hours away now. Election season in California is almost over. It's a one-issue election in most counties. There are a few counties that have some local issues going on, but for the most part, if you open up your ballot, you're going to see one thing on there and one thing only, and that is Proposition 50. I finally filled out my ballot this morning after getting to the bottom of a very, very, very long stack of mail. But I did it. I did my duty. I put it back in the envelope. I signed it. And I put it in the drop box that's in the park nearby. Here we go. I am now one of 6.3 million Californians that has returned their ballot. If you're wondering how many registered voters that get ballots there are in California, 23 million. So currently, as of 3 p.m., the day before election season is over, 27.4% of the state has turned out in this special election for Prop 50. The daily returns peaked quite a while ago, where on the 20th, you saw about 500,000 go in a day. But the 29th, you saw about 300,000. But just the last couple of days, it's been under 100,000. We'll see what the turnout is in person. But there's already been a lot of in-person early voting. Maybe it'll break 30%. Maybe. But let's give you some of the numbers as we look. We don't know how people are voting, but since this is a incredibly partisan issue that is on the ballot, you can kind of imagine how people are voting, but you're not sure. It's always possible. But when it comes to registered Democrats in the state of California, there are 10.3 million of them. And of those 10.3 million, 3.2 million have returned their ballots. That is a turnout rate of the registered Democrats in California at 31.6%. When it comes to Republicans, there's 5.8 million registered Republicans in California, and 1.7 million of them have returned their ballot. That is a return rate of 29.4%, which is a lot lower. And of course, you look at that, it's nearly half of the ballots that have been returned by Democrats. Maybe the Republicans will make that up on election day. Maybe not. Then, of course, there's the second largest voting bloc in the state of California, the no party preferencers. I myself am a no party preference. I don't really see anything that either party has done great for me lately. So there are 6.8 million no party preference voters in the state. 1.3 million have returned their ballots with a much lower turnout rate to 19.4%. Although you could definitely argue, because this is such a partisan issue, if you don't feel like you belong to either party, where do you stand on it? It's a very good question. Now, when it comes to the makeup of return ballots by age, this shouldn't surprise anybody. But of people over 65, the people that vote the most reliably, of the 5.6 million seniors in California, 49.1% of them have turned out. Of the 6.5 million that are in the age bracket of 46 to 64, prime demo for Talk Radio, 1.9 million of them have turned out. That is a return rate of 29.4%. And when it comes to 30 to 45-year-olds, my age bracket, 1 million ballots have been returned out of 6 million voters, 16.5% turnout. And do we even do the young people? I guess we gotta. Of the 4.4 million registered 18 to 29-year-olds, 20% of the electorate is under 30. 12% of them have returned their ballots. At this point, I believe it's just a few hundred, it's not even a million. 9% of the under 30s are paying attention to this election. Now, if you break this down by gender, what do you see? It's pretty evenly matched here. But currently, there's just a few more women registered voters than men, 11.6 million to 11.0 million. And of them, 28.1% turnout among women, 27.1% turnout among men. The unknowns, which I guess that's a thing here, 12% of unknown genders have returned their ballots. If you want to break this down by race, sure, people do that. Of the 13 million whites in this state, 4.1 million have returned their ballots. That is a 31% turnout. Of the 6 million Hispanics, 1.2 million have returned their ballots to a 20% turnout. Of the nearly 1 million black voters, 220,000 have returned their ballot, a 23% turnout. And the nearly 3 million Asians, 750,000 have turned in their ballots, 25% turnout. If you want to break it down by county, which I always find very interesting because certain counties are more invested, especially in this election, than other ones. If, I don't know, your county is about to get broken up into several pieces, like Amador County, 45% turnout so far. How about Los Angeles County? Lower, 23% turnout, but not the lowest. Kern County, only 19%. That might be one of the lowest that I've seen here. Riverside County, 21%. San Bernardino County, 15.9%. And sometimes there might be some inaccuracies with how exactly these things are being reported in real time. But at least these are the numbers that we have. If you want to look at any of this, by the way, I am using a tracker that's called Optic Data. And I'll just give you the address because I'll never be able to pronounce this. But you go to abev.optic, that's OPITQ data.com, and this thing shows up. And you'll see who's turning in their ballots. We'll get a lot more numbers when the polls close at 8 o'clock tomorrow, but you still have an opportunity to vote. And you have an opportunity right now to make your case for either side. If you want to give us a call and tell us why you're voting yes on Prop 50, you can do that. The phone number is 800-222-KABC. If you want to give us a call and tell us why you're voting no on Prop 50, you can give us a call. The number for you is 800-222-KABC. And if you're one of the, I'd say, 1 out of 2 Californians that does not plan on voting at this election, you're welcome to make your case about that as well at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. How are you voting on Proposition 50? Are you for it? Are you against it? Are you not voting? Are you waiting to vote? Give us a call right now. The phone lines are open, 800-222-KABC. Now, in case you're tuning in and politics is not your entire life, and you have a lot of other things going on, you might not be super aware of what is this Prop 50? What is this thing that's getting all this money spent on? What are we voting for or against? Well, luckily for you, I've got a great explainer from ABC7 in the Bay.
America was founded on the notion that a government for the people would be made up of the people. But who decides how the people are represented? That's more complicated. In 26 states, this power lies in the hands of elected politicians in the state legislatures, but not California.
It's all a puzzle piece.
No, we decided a few years ago, hey, that's not a great idea. We should do something about that. In fact, it was spearheaded by Arnold Schwarzenegger, the governor at the time, to put a measure on the ballot that would make it so that the voters would vote on an independent commission. Now, who's appointed to that commission? Questionable. But the idea is the members of the legislature are not the ones that draw the congressional lines or the lines for the state
It's all a puzzle piece.
Cynthia Dye knows California's districts. She helped draw them.
Hold on a second. I can't get into why this is driving me crazy, but I think I need to find the original sound that I had for this and redo it, because we've got a computer problem going on at the main radio station, and now all of a sudden when I save stuff, it saves it in a lower quality. So if I now go to the original file that I saved, will it be in a higher quality?
America was founded.
Yes, it will. I'm going to have a talking to with somebody about that one.
America was founded on the notion that a government for the people would be made up of the people. But who decides how the people are represented? That's more complicated. In 26 states, this power lies in the hands of elected politicians in the state legislatures, but not California.
It's all a puzzle piece.
Cynthia Dye knows California's districts. She helped draw them.
When the Voters First Act, came up to vote of people in 2008, I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to fix this in California, and this is so exciting.
Dye was on California's inaugural Independent Redistricting Commission, formed after voters approved Prop 11 and Prop 20 to have citizens, not politicians, draw the electoral maps.
We could not be candidates, politicians, staffers, lobbyists, major donors.
Of course, one of the people that's on the commission now is that professor from Pomona College who happened to just show up at the inaugural Yes on 50 rally. So,
Or be related to any of those people in order to serve on the commission.
The effort largely driven by then Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Gerrymandering is the worst thing that ever happened to politics.
A political outsider who...
Well, yeah, but it's been around since the beginning.
Political outsider who quickly grew frustrated by how manipulated maps impacted the government's business, and he was determined to put an end to it. But what exactly is gerrymandering? The answer is as juicy as a good political debate.
Gerrymandering refers to any effort to draw districts strategically to favor one group.
And we've seen this not just in congressional maps, but state Senate maps, assembly maps, and city council maps. Have you ever seen the way the city of Los Angeles is drawn up? This has been going on forever, and this happens in blue states, and this happens in red states. And anyone that wants to claim that we're above this, well, most of them are not. Even with the independent redistricting commission that we have in the state, look at how local districts are drawn up. It's a mess.
One interest, party, or even a given individual.
To learn more about it, we caught up with Eric Schickler, a certified...
remember, that's what that whole scandal with the LA City Council was about. It was about the Latino members of the LA City Council being upset that they thought their independent redistricting commission was giving too many council districts to the black population. So that's fun.
A certified congressional history buff and co-director of UC Berkeley's Institute of Governmental Studies.
The term actually goes back to early in the U.S. Republic in the early 1800s.
Enter Elbert Gerry, the architect and namesake of gerrymandering. A founding father himself, Gerry got the nickname after redrawing the Massachusetts state Senate districts to maximize his party's power.
The expectation was they would be drawn by politicians to serve their interests.
That seems pretty counterintuitive to the way the Republic was set up.
Yes and no. The idea was that this would be a representative democracy, not a direct democracy. One person, one vote, that we should all have votes that are roughly as important as one another is a kind of core democratic value.
It's a core value that Schickler says hasn't always been reflected well.
People in power want to retain their power.
There are a few tools that are more potent in a sense than being able to draw your districts, because you're basically able to choose the voters who are going to be deciding on your fate.
Well, you can choose, these specific locations. Maybe you're choosing by ethnicity. That's what's happened in a lot of states that was ruled illegal by the Supreme Court many, many times. It's one of the uglier things about politics, but both sides have been doing this for a very long time. But no, California, we got rid of this. We're all about independence. Except now we're not.
Take, for example, District 10 in Texas. It's currently held by Republican Congressman Michael McCaul. Now, he lives in a wealthy suburb just west of Austin.
But his district burrows around deep blue downtown Austin, hitting some of these suburbs north of the city, and then it stretches all the way east outside the suburbs of Houston.
Blue states gerrymander too. Looking at District 13 in Illinois, it's currently held by Nikki Budzinski, who lives in Springfield, the state capital. It was a pretty fairly even district until the 2020 census.
Now the district looks completely different than it did before the 2020 census. It starts in central Illinois and spans all the way down to East St. Louis. This whole district is a roughly 3-hour drive.
Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And a lot of California's districts, even with this commission, are really bizarre. This is the game that we play here, and whoever's in charge wants to consolidate power.
When it comes to drawing maps to benefit a party in power, federal courts have largely stayed out of the issue. And in 2019, the U.S. Supreme Court made partisan gerrymandering easier. That ruling is in part what enabled Texas to redraw its maps this summer.
And I don't care where you fall in all this. The whole idea that you're going to change the districts in the middle of a decade when you don't know how many people have moved in and out of wherever, how does that not throw right into the face of one person, one vote, where these districts are supposed to be equal in size, but now you have no idea as to who's living where, not just, from going state to state, but even within the state. How many people during COVID moved to San Bernardino or Riverside?
54 ayes, 83 nays.
Texas's new congressional maps are designed to boot 5 incumbent House Democrats out of their seats.
And also, that's not a guarantee, just like it's not a guarantee here. If enough people are dissatisfied with whoever's in charge of the government, they're going to vote for somebody else. It has happened a lot of times, and there are plenty of people that might just be dissatisfied with both of these parties.
To help the GOP retain its slim majority after the 2026 midterms, all at the request of President Donald Trump.
I think we get 5, and there could be some other states. We're going to get another 3 or 4 or 5 in addition. Texas would be the biggest one.
Donald Trump, you have poked the bear, and we will punch back.
Enter Gavin, who decided to make this all about himself.
Prompting California politicians to push to do the inverse here to help Democrats.
The difference was because we had written into our California Constitution that we do independent redistricting, it would take an amendment to the California Constitution passed by the voters to do what happened in Texas. And that's what Prop 50 is.
If voters approve the changes in Proposition 50.
You cannot save democracy by torching it.
But Dye, the redistricting commission member from earlier, strongly opposes this gambit. She says gerrymandering is gerrymandering, and she doesn't believe it belongs in California.
If you fight fire with fire, everything's on fire at the end.
Decent point. And look, that's the thing. If you want to make the argument that the move that happened in Texas is wrong, and I will make that argument, I don't care what you say about, it was a court case or whatever. We saw what happened. I don't like that. But the retort to that can't be, well, I don't like that. We're going to do the same thing. I just have a really hard time following that logic. And it's not like either party has done anything for me lately. So the polls are open. You've got until tomorrow night to turn in that ballot. How are you voting on Prop 50? Are you for it? Are you against it? Are you not even voting? Give us a call, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's start with Ray in El Segundo. Ray, hello.
Well, I was wondering if this ballot initiative is legal because I got my ballot, I voted, and then I get a revised map in the mail the following week. So were people voting on one thing and then they got a different piece of information? So I would put this thing into question. And the other thing about all these things, they're written by politicians. So you think you're voting for one thing and you're getting something else. Like Prop 19 was supposed to help fire victims as the biggest tax increase in California. But people didn't know it when they were voting for it because of the way they write them. So,
well, that's a really good point, and two really good points. One, I guarantee if Prop 50 passes, and it looks like it's going to pass, there's going to be several legal challenges among a whole bunch of different grounds. There's already been several legal challenges. There may be legal challenges to what happened in Texas as well. And will there be injunctions that hold off these maps for 2026? We shall see. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Tomorrow is election day. You've had all month to have your say. Are you a yes or a no on Prop 50, or are you not even voting? Totally fine with that as well. Give us a call, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We'll get to more of your calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Election day is tomorrow. You've had all month to weigh in on Prop 50. So if you want to make your case for or against Prop 50 or tell us why you're not voting at all, give us a call at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Dave in Torrance. Dave, hello.
Yeah, hi. You probably will not agree with me on a single thing on this, but, Newsom gave Texas an out, and he says, if you stop, I'll stop. It kind of reminds me of the Cuban Missile Crisis when Russia's coming in with the missiles to Cuba, and Kennedy goes, look, if you don't turn these around, we're going to have a problem. So this is how you got to fight this. I 100% agree with Newsom's stand on this. I don't like it when a president picks up a phone call and calls a state and interferes with the state laws and says, I need more seats, change it now. Yes, sir, Mr. President. I have a problem with that.
And do you believe that after these 3 congressional terms that the independent redistricting will come back, or do you think this is how it's going to be now?
Well, we'll just have to see what the state of the country is back then. Maybe these Republican groups will get together and form things in their own community and reflip things. I mean, there's been districts in Orange County and parts of California that have been flipped before. Look at where Mike what's his name is in his district. That used to be a Republican district. There's Orange County districts that have been changed. Things, if your issues are not addressed in your congressional district, they can be flipped.
Oh, they definitely can. Performance ultimately matters than anything, and I don't care how you draw the lines. If people are dissatisfied with the government next November, they're going to choose for change. This happens every single midterms. I got one question for you. What do you say to people that say 2 wrongs don't make a right?
I think they're not living in reality.
All right. Well, fair enough.
And I
appreciate you.
Why Arnold Schwarzenegger and all these people who believe in democracy so much, why aren't they running ads in Texas and helping Texas get their democracy back? They're just being bulldozed over there. They have
one thing is that it's not an election that does this in Texas. The legislature's doing it themselves. We're late for a break. Thanks so much for the call. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. It's your turn to weigh in. Do you like Prop 50? Do you hate Prop 50? Are you not even going to bother to vote? Give us a call right now. Make your case for or against Prop 50. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold to get right back to your calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails at randykabc@gmail.com and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. We're taking your phone calls right now at 800-222-KABC. Thanks for holding, everybody. Prop 50 is on the ballot. The polls close tomorrow. Make your case. Are you voting for it? Are you voting against it? Give us a call, 800-222-KABC. Let's start with David in Orange. David, hello.
Good evening, Randy. How you doing?
Doing great.
So I'm I've got 2 points, and I have voted no. And by the way, make sure when you do put that ballot in the envelope, fold it so that it doesn't show, because it's very possible that it can actually be seen through the outside of the envelope if you fold it the wrong way. But the primary reason is I definitely agree 2 wrongs don't make a right. And I agree with that proposition. But that having been said, the last thing I want is for the bad experiment of Democrats in this state of California getting a stronger foothold and taking that virus back to Washington, D.C., and that's what this would allow. By having more potential Democratic representatives and taking out the few Republican voices that are in this state, to me, that just makes it an even worse situation and allows for what's brought this state down economically with bad policy that has created a wealth of folks leaving this state. Why do I want that kind of philosophy and virus infection to go 3,000 miles east back in D.C. and just ruin everything else, or having a great influence on what's going on back there that affects everyone in the other 49 states?
Well, and it's interesting you mentioned, people leaving. It's very possible when the next census is done that California might lose 4 or 5 more seats just based on all the people that have moved to Texas, moved to Florida, moved to Arizona. So it's going to be a completely different map whenever they do give power back to the Independent Redistricting Commission. If they ever do, they might say, well, now we have to consolidate power because we're losing seats. And there's a whole other issue as well. But yeah, I have a really hard time getting past 2 wrongs don't make a right. And I think you do as well. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Let's go to Kelso and Mission Viejo. Kelso, hello.
Good evening, Randy. I totally agree with you guys. I voted no because I cannot see a more anti-democratic proposition than this one, where they want to silence the voices of the people of California that already chose the most democratic way, which is to use an independent committee. The other problem I have is that our state is in a deficit. We don't have spare money to be playing with it. And Gavin Newsom is playing with our money to pick up a fight to do another wrong. If he wasn't a smart man and a good politician, he probably would have done a great job in the state of California, and that itself would sell their cause. The problem why, if I'm not saying pro or against the Trump here, however, Trump won the election because the Democrats did a pretty bad job. Joe Biden did a pretty bad job, and people were looking for another alternative. So the way you win elections is you do good government, you do a good job, you're clean, you're transparency, don't play games with the population on it, and you win elections. It is as simple as that.
If you have a record to run on and a record of success, you can do incredible things, but so few people want to do that hard work. And I wish it was more like that. I really appreciate the call. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Michael in Encino. Michael, hello.
Hello. I am against 50 for a different reason. If I like to live in Cuba or Russia or China to have a one-party system, then I would move there. But people in California, they talk about democracy, like Obama comes and talks about democracy, and then he's advocating for a one-party system. We are already blue state. What else do they want? They're so greedy. They want this little patch more, a little bit more to make it absolutely one-party system. And nobody's talking about that. So anyway, I got it off my chest. Thank you for taking my call.
Always appreciate you calling in, Michael. And it's funny what he says. California has been a one-party state when it comes to the legislature for a very long time. No Republican's been in the governor's office since Schwarzenegger. No statewide official since Schwarzenegger and the insurance commissioner back then. And if the answer to everybody's problems was Democrat supermajorities, things would be great in California. But they're not. And when you look at other states, the states that are actually the most well-run are the ones that are a little more purple. They're in the middle. Like, I'm not going to tell you that a Republican supermajority is a good idea. You go live in Alabama. I'm not doing it. Let's go to Caroline in Diamond Bar. Caroline, hello.
I agree with everything you're saying, and the balance in power is really where you get the best. And we have all this legislation that, comes out so very left-leaning. We already don't know what's coming our way. But we're a constitutional republic, and we are expecting to get some representation for our views. And this proposition takes it away. I don't care what they're doing in Texas. I live in California, and I would like to be represented.
Yeah, and we would like to have competitive districts here where differing ideas can compete for your vote. And what we're doing is we're making it even less competitive, which is so antithetical to the whole idea that we support independent redistricting, which this says, oh, if you vote yes on 50, you support the idea of independent redistricting. We're just going to put it away for at least 6 years. I'm not buying it. Thanks so much for the call, Caroline. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Prop 50 is on the ballot. Did you vote yes? Did you vote no? Are you not voting? Give us a call, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. More of your calls coming up next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. If you'd like to email us, you could do so at randykabc@gmail.com. Jack writes in, as an independent, I got to vote no on Prop 50 to have any hope of my voice being represented in the districting process. Further, if you dislike both Gavin and Trump, who do you dislike more? Vote that way if you like. Also, how is democracy protected by suspending a constitutional change achieved by the voters? Great points. Let's go to Rose in Marina Del Rey. Rose, hello.
Hey, Randy. If you read this proposition, it says authorize temporary changes. What in this state that has ever been supposedly temporary remained temporary? It's always permanent. So first off, that's just a misnomer right there. And besides, we already have an independent board commission that looks into redistricting. So why do we need another new one? It's already acted on this. And what does it have to do with Texas? We don't live there. I don't understand this whole thing. So we're doing this Prop 50 just to counteract what another state has done, not what has happened in our state that the voters might want changes. But what
it's a real mess. And here's an interesting question, Rose. Thanks so much for the call. What if this passes? And again, it says it only goes into effect if Texas does what they do. And then the courts strike down what happened in Texas. Then what do we do? Of course, there's also a very real possibility the courts will strike down this even if it does pass. We shall see. Hey, I got something nice for you. 790 KABC welcomes OAR at the Greek Theater on August 8th, 2026. Tickets are on sale Friday at Ticketmaster.com. But right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing. If you're on hold, stay on hold. More of your calls coming up next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls on Prop 50. Let's go to Inga in LA. Inga, hello.
Hi, Randy. So I consider myself to be independent, same like you. So I have little personal attitude why I voted no for 50. Because, for example, Schwarzenegger, he knows what means to be under Soviet boot. And if he created that independent committee, so I'm supporting him because I was born under Soviet occupation. And all this talking, all that what they use about democracy, and if it's going to communist side, then you can imagine how I'm feeling about that.
Well, and I think it's a really strong message to say that, a no vote mean you support independent redistricting. You like what we have here, and we should be an example for the other states instead of getting into this tit-for-tat game.
That's right. And it's pitiful to listen that they are fighting Trump. It's so pitiful, you know. Grown men whining about somebody like Trump.
Well, and here's another thing, like the way this thing is written, these are the maps that stay in effect for not just the 2026 election, but also the 2028 election and the 2030 election. Trump's not going to be in the 28 or the 30 election. So what are they doing there?
Of course. That's, completely stupid. I hope less people would buy it.
Well, we'll see what the turnout's going to be. Right now, it looks like it's going to pass, but you never know. Miracles can happen. Thanks so much for the call, Inga.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And before we go, I do want to play you this. Earlier over the weekend, Ashley Zavala of KCRA 3 interviewed Adam Schiff, the United States Senator, and she asked him about the fact that everyone's saying this is going to be temporary. Is it really going to be temporary?
And so circling back to Proposition 50 now, Senator Schiff, I know you support this measure. I wonder, with some of the independent redistricting commissioners right now stating that they don't believe this would be temporary, as a former House member, do you see it being easy for any Democrats who could get elected under these new maps to give up those districts that have been gerrymandered for them?
People don't usually like to give up their own power.
Well, California passed this resolution establishing the commission, even though members benefit from being able to draw their own districts or having a legislature do it. So we were able to get this in place in California. But frankly, many of us had the concern that is now materializing, which is that other states would decide they're going to continue to gerrymander or even gerrymander worse, and Californian voters will have their votes diluted. Basically, the only reason this is necessary, the only reasons it's happening is that the president told Texas,
okay, yeah, we've heard that.
So out of control. I hope it has new impetus and more bipartisan support, or at least some bipartisan support. But regrettably, I think it is very necessary to preserve our voice in things in California, to preserve our democracy, to change the course of policy in this country, that we pass Prop 50.
But he didn't say anything about, do you think it's actually going to go back to the independent redistricting? But Ashley Zavala, who's one of the best in the state, follows up.
But you're confident it would be temporary?
Yes. The only caveat being if a president like Donald Trump goes through this exercise again.
So then it's not temporary. So we can make an excuse. Well, no, it's still unfair what they're doing in Missouri or Texas or Ohio. So we got to keep what we're doing. Yeah, that one's a hard sell.
But you're confident it would be temporary?
Yes. The only caveat being if a president like Donald Trump goes through this exercise again and tries to rig the election by redrawing the lines in other states, California can't unilaterally disarm. But yes, this is intended to be temporary. I hope it is temporary. And I think the way to ensure that it's temporary is to make sure that this obligation to use commission extends to other states as well, not just the blue states.
Well, and you know what? The fix for all of this would be what Kevin Kiley's trying to get done at the national level, what even Alex Padilla's trying to get done at the national level. There should be a federal law that none of this is allowed, and we have true independent redistricting in all 50 states. But good luck seeing that ever happen in our politics. Thank you all so much for listening. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.